Everybody's having a good morning. Mick, if you are about to present, I'm just saying hello.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Welcome everyone to our virtual desktop infrastructure webinar. Before we jump into this, I briefly want to introduce myself, and James, if you don't mind saying a few words too. Very briefly, Mick Miralis. I've been at Tehama now for about 12 months, and my role is really to work with our partners globally and here in the Asia Pacific region specifically into assisting them to take Tehama-based services or solutions to our respective customers. So that's my role. James?
My role is to actually help customers in their innovation space. A lot of what we do when you think about virtual desktops and the workflow and the hybrid environments is understanding the workflow of the customer and how we can greatly enhance that with our rooms and with the technologies that we bring into it. So my role is primarily working with the customer. I'm in your corner all the time.
Okay, cool. So jumping right into this, first off, let me just say I'm really excited to be sharing with everyone what we do here at Tehama, and I won't repeat all the individual bullets, but very simply, one, we're excited in that we're an innovation business. We're very focused on delivering quality value, saving money, accelerating our customers and partners' ability to move to the cloud and leverage the flexibility and the agility that brings to the table. So. But at a very kind of macro level, who is Tehama? Well, we focus on delivering a comprehensive integrated platform that is inclusive of a virtual desktop solution, but security, audit, compliance, etc. There's many other elements that come into it, which I'll touch on. But at a macro level, our company today, relatively speaking, still young, 3 million plus hours on our platform, 230 customers globally. I'm sure we're across 37 countries now. Our NDR is 130%. And what we mean by that is that typically when an end user adopts our solution, we see significant growth and uptake in terms of how someone utilizes Tehama to deliver business outcomes for their business. And whether that's regionally based, whether it's within one organization, a department, or whether it's at a global level. On the right-hand side there, I wanted to highlight some of the things that are kind of unique to Tehama, and James will touch on some of that as we go through our presentation today. But one is obviously we very much focus on the challenges and the flexibility that customers and users need in a hybrid workforce. Some may call it digital transformation, others may call it cloud migration. In the US, typically we call it hybrid work, where it's a combination of people working on premise. Data being on-premise, applications being on-premise, and of course others that are in the cloud, and of course remote work, etc. I also highlighted here that for those of you that may be in the telecommunications space, our solution is 5G ready in terms of how a telecommunications provider can take our solution and combine it with some of the other things they do and really deliver incrementally greater value to their customers in terms of flexibility, agility across and scale across a global workforce. Moving along though, as we all know on this call, we've all come out of I'll just use this as an example. We've all come out of a COVID world, and of course, COVID, isn't the end game. It was really an accelerator of many of the things that were already occurring across the IT industry. And here, I just wanted to share some of the challenges that we all confront in a hybrid work or remote work or a digital transformation strategy, whether that's moving into the cloud, etc. Some of the statistics that I've collected it from the US at least, but I am sure that everyone on this call, whether you're in Singapore, whether you're in Malaysia, any ASEAN country, Australia, etc., there's equivalent statistics that the detail may be slightly different, but the issues and the challenges would still be consistent. So as our workforce, as organizations are trying to leverage cloud, reduce cost, move from a CapEx to an OpEx, provide greater security, etc., I think everyone is confronted by these kind of challenges. For example, ransomware, data breach, SMBs. One particular data point that really interested me was, the scale of a typical cyber attack on an SMB or a small enterprise and how many of these organizations can potentially go out of business within 6 months of a particular cyber attack, right? So there's, COVID accelerated things. We've got digital transformation and so forth. However, there are inherent global challenges, regardless of where you are in the world, whether it's the US economy, ASEAN, Australia, and so forth. So in that context, here at Tehama, and I'll just quickly go through these, we thought to ourselves as we were going through, our solutions, et cetera, over the last few years, that remote work or digital transformation, depending on what description you want to use, is much, much more than just providing a virtual desktop. And all of it, for those of you that are on this call today and may already have a virtual desktop infrastructure, you may already have a virtual desktop initiative within your business, and there may be numerous drivers behind that. Some of it may be cost cutting, others may be security challenges, others may be the flexibility of work and so forth. I think everyone would agree that a VDI solution is not the silver bullet to many, many challenges in a hybrid work environment. And in fact, you really need to bring many elements together. So from a Tehama perspective, what is absolutely unique for us, and Jaymes will touch on that, is that we provide an integrated platform that not only includes an literally out-of-the-box VDI solution, but we also address the challenges of security, access control, risk management, and we focus on the business outcomes and the productivity that is required from a work perspective, regardless of the operational model that an enterprise or a business may be doing, i.e., whether it's on-premise, in the cloud, remote work, or combination of remote work, et cetera. So everything you see here under access control, security, risk management, et cetera, these are all covered natively and built into our platform literally out of the box. And I appreciate there's probably some cynics on this call where they hear, in the IT industry, we always say often out of the box, out of the box, out of the box, and then you've got to pay an arm and a leg for consulting, et cetera, for integration and so forth. This is literally the functionality that you get out of a Tehama-based solution. So moving on, how do we do that? And this is very simply, foundational to our approach is a secure virtual room. And in that secure virtual room, which we can deploy globally on any public cloud in terms of integrating with data and applications and so forth, we provide that secure room. And that secure room, the best way to look at it for anyone to kind of picture it in their mind is a logical grouping of workers with a common business rules. So it could be departmental, it could be the contractors for a particular bank, it could be regional, it could be local, it could be geographical. So it could be the UK, or it could be a bank and all its contractors who span globally but have consistent business rules that need to be applied to them. And when you look at that secure virtual room, and keep in mind, everything here is cloud SaaS-based. There's no physical infrastructure that we deploy or the customer or the end user deploys. There's a number of buckets of services that are made available through our virtual room. One is obviously the business rules, the room controls that are inherent in that room. For example, zero trust access control, policies, room directory, active directory, integration, and so forth. Another one then is at the bottom, you'll see the room features or the services that a business or our partners provide to their end customers. So an audit vault. So for those of you that may be working in the US, for example, a good example would be in the healthcare vertical, where HIPAA compliance is very important. So, we provide that functionality of recording or keeping activity-based streaming so that we can audit all activities going back, the length of a contract in that room, a file vault, a secret vault, an apps vault, what data can be shared, what applications can be accessed. All of those services are now built into that room out of the box once it's installed. And then, of course, ultimately, a worker needs to be able to work, right? So employees need to be able to function and work. So by default, because we appreciate the complexities of a VDI solution and also the cost savings that could potentially be made by simplifying some of the inherent complexities in the VDI type solution, we've built in and built into our virtual room a Tehama virtual desktop. This is proprietary. It's not a white label of a third-party virtual desktop, on Linux and Windows. It's the Tehama virtual desktop built into the solution, already integrated and so forth. So that's the virtual room, and as I said, it's a logical grouping of workers. We can have multiple rooms within, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, across the US, Europe, etc. All of it is a logical grouping. But the other interesting thing then is, of course, we provide our own multipath gateway built into the solution, which allows us then to integrate or interoperate, I guess is probably the correct word for it, with the relevant applications and data that sits in the customer's infrastructure. And that infrastructure can be on-premise, it can be in their own data center, or it could be sitting on any of the clouds. It could be in Azure, it could be AWS, OCI, Google, etc. It doesn't bother us where it's not a challenge for us in terms of where the end user's data and applications are, but we do very much focus on ensuring that that data does not move their region or whatever business rules they have in place, right? So we only allow for pixels to transfer through into the secure virtual room and then apply our business rules and policies. And, Jaymes will touch on that as we go through that presentation. So moving on, so how does it all come together? This is a very simple example, for one of our, obviously later on, Andy is going to talk a little bit about Cloud Comrade, of course, but, our partner working with any of our end users on here would set up a secure room or secure rooms plural, depending on the business needs and the geographical dispersion and the logical grouping of individuals, right? So we set up a secure room. That's done very quickly, and Jaymes, I'm sure, will brag about how quickly it can be done. Then we take custody of work. And what I mean by that is we control, access via a BYOD device, via a network, 5G network, or whatever the case may be. But we assume by default that every device that's accessing that room has a security breach, right? And a zero trust access challenge for us, right? So all of that is, we take control of that custody, that work, and we apply those business rules via that secure room. Then from there, of course, we deliver through our gateway technology access to relevant data, etc. And of course, ultimately, number 4 there, accessing their corporate infrastructure, as I said earlier on, regardless of which cloud platform or on-premise business scenario the end user may have. But our focus, of course, is ultimately in one simplified, integrated platform to deliver secure, compliant access to those applications and data that are critical for the business to drive productivity. And, as I said at the beginning, of course, our focus is always about business outcomes. So only a couple of more slides to go. So what does that all mean ultimately? At a business level, of course, it means, saving money, highly secure. It eliminates duplication. And one of the points I should have made earlier on is that some of you may be thinking, well, you know what, I might have my own multi-factor authentication solution that I'm using as part of my own implementation. Does that work with Tehama? Our Tehama is designed to adopt and integrate with third-party tools that the customer or the end user prefers to use. Obviously, our preference is to do everything, and that eliminates complexity, cost, speed, et cetera, But however, flexibility is the name of the game, because we know also that customers have their own preference. So our solution, our platform allows us to do that. And in fact, for those of you that may be Citrix or VMware users, et cetera, our solution can actually extend the business policies and services to your existing Citrix environment if you already have made a VDI investment somewhere. However, back to the end user, obviously productivity is very quickly. We want to, we want to drive adoption, keep it simple and so forth. So it's 3 simple steps for us. Create a work environment relative to that workroom, add the users. Obviously there's a bit of legwork there done with our partners and the end users. And then of course, once we've got those end users, mechanically they receive a very simple email. They log on and boom, they start working relative to the applications and so forth. 3 simple steps. I know it sounds overly simplistic, but it is literally 3 simple steps from a Tehama perspective. Now, more broadly though, everything is about value. Of course, you want to deliver value to the end user, the employees, et cetera, that are using this, because that drives adoption. The easier it is, the better, the best the user experience, et cetera, et cetera. All of that drives adoption, which drives productivity. Equally so, for those of you that may be working with Cloud Comrade, or you want to roll the solution out and make it available to your own employees and so forth, the ability to speedily deliver services or add new services is very important. We've spent lots of energy and lots of time trying to reduce things that would typically take months, if not multiple quarters, okay, to hours and days, and in worst case scenario, a couple of weeks. So for those of you that may be looking for a business continuity solution, we can roll that out, and you can go back to your IT department that's using a Tehama solution and literally in hours have a business continuity solution available without having to go through the complexities of reconfiguring a whole bunch of stuff operationally and so forth, right? So everything we do is geared towards speed and delivering immediate value to the end user and then ultimately to the business. And then my last slide here, and I'll stop talking, is, of course, you can be delivering the best technology in the world, the greatest flexibility and so forth, but it always comes down to cost. And, of course, the flexibility in that cost. So at a foundational level, the Tehama solution and the Tehama platform is based on a pure consumption model. So, many of you, I'm sure, are dealing with the complexities of concurrent users. You've got to do an upfront payment. Others may call it subscription, but you really got to make a fixed commitment per month for whatever period of time. Our solution, although we do allow for any of those models, if that's what a customer or end user wants, is founded or grounded on a pure consumption model. So there's no commitment. We cap on a monthly basis so that our customers end users don't have a cost blowout, etc. Mitigate that risk. So it's consumption-based metering, pay per user desktop capped monthly, and everything that I showed you earlier on in that secure virtual room is available out of the box. There's no hidden cost. There's no extra licensing. Everything you get there is available at a unit of cost, down to the minute, and capped at a monthly rate, but at an hourly rate, ultimately minute and hourly rate to the end customer. So on that note, I'll stop and over to you, Jaymes.
Okay, you have to stop sharing screen and I will share. There we go. All right. So let's do a couple of key things here. Mick went through and really hit on a lot of the key conversations in our tenants that we were actually focusing on. And, as you're starting to work through and kind of put your minds together on what we're working with, it's all about how we deliver it back to the end customer, and it's about business outcomes. As you're talking with your customers, what are they focusing on? A lot of them are dealing with it, employee mobility, improved security and compliance. They're looking for agility. When cost savings, it's usually not the driving factor, but of course it becomes a factor after time progresses. And what we like to do is we like to level it up. What are they focusing on today? And then again, as you start diving into the workflow, understanding what's the functions of the jobs, and are these urgent access, and how are you developing your hybrid strategy is what this all comes down to. How are you going to take advantage of the new things that we've gained by being able to work in a hybrid reality, right? Now that we've been able to do both our home and our work lives together, a lot of things have changed. A lot of the types of access and types of things I need to access have changed as well. And that's really where, we want to drive the conversation that you're going to take away from this particular webinar. I want you to drive it into the idea of what do I need to do to really establish and drive that hybrid work strategy, right? I'm going to kind of go directly into a couple of the pieces here in the platform itself. Let's see if I can move these out of the way. There we go. So I'm going to start off with, here in our advanced platform piece, you get the full access of a room. You get full access to, let's see if I can move that, there we go. Full access to a room and desktops. Inside of this particular environment, it is a highly secure, highly set up in a persistent desktop environment. When you think about the rooms, as Mick said, when we spin these rooms out, these rooms are done in less than an hour to be able to get a room into play, and then being able to change and set the way that the room is being leveraged per person or per project or per organization are key to how you would leverage a room and when and where you would leverage a room in. I'm already connected to a desktop, so again, when in our system, there's a single connect button that they would hit once you're actually logged into the system. You come up to the single connect button. You're able to then log on to the backend desktop. I don't know if I can get there from where I'm at. Can you guys see? Okay, I can't compare. There we go. So, again, I'm directly involved. I'm directly logged into a desktop environment. Inside of this room environment, I only have access to a certain subset of things that, when you look here at the firewall rules, I have full access that I've added in, internet access that's part of a UDP, so I can do both inside and out. But I could very easily create a custom rule that is, again, very specific to the room. When a person logs onto the desktop in this room, they are subject to the dynamic firewalls that are part of this environment. So both in and out, right? So I can't accidentally get an email and go to a phishing environment by chance. These desktops are all persistent desktops, so the user leverages it in a consistent basis. But we also have both persistent and non-persistent, as well as we deliver on browsers by themselves. One of those particular aspects that we do that with is when you start looking at our front-end persistent environment, in which, again, you're able to leverage and use browsers to get access to the things that you're wanting to get access. We even have, like, as an example, you can log into an Oracle 8 type desktop where you can get all the current components that you need access to work inside of an Oracle 8 development environment and start working immediately. And when you're done, either log out, destroy it, go back to the same environment. As well as, again, we were talking a little bit about browsers. This is a really important characteristic in which, when I think about things like O365 or being able to connect to those type of scenarios, I need an isolated browser because I have access to all the Word and Excel, but if I don't want you to copy and paste out of Word and Excel, if I don't want you to have access to download things out of your OneDrive in your environment, but I want you to be able to access this anywhere in the world at any time that you want to access this, but you need these levels of controls in place. That's what Tehama really provides you out of the box, right off the way, that you're able to implement and leverage within the first hour, and then start delivering adoption after that particular point. That's the point where, Mick's really talking about a lot of the NDR, how people find other reasons or routes to leverage us in different ways, whether it be our persistent and our secured environment that we're working through with different rooms, multi-path technologies and capabilities, or if you're looking at browsers and non-persistent environments in which you want to have access to multiple different types of characteristics or capabilities inside of these environments. That may be one route that you may want to actually go. For both of those two, right, we have one operational platform that we leverage to, hold on a second, that we leverage to manage the operational platform on a day-to-day basis. 1 second, 7. So operationally, when you log in and you come into play, you have full access to all the desktops and the browser environments that are currently working, the ones that are up, when they're online. You have easy access to things like end-user activity. I saw a new report that was talking about where do I get the information, like people are looking at productivity and putting on those type of tool sets. Those are already built into our environments, and they'll need to get an observability tool or look at some other productivity tool. And we provide the level of privacy that you still want to provide to your customer or to your employees without also losing the insight to the data of where they're going or what's happening from that environment. When you think about help desk and supporting your help desk environment, this is a specific system that was created to reduce the overall cost of both supporting this environment, but also scaling this environment to meet the demands of your existing, of your new or again, things that are coming into play moving forward, in which you have full access to everything that you can think of when you're working with the device itself, right? So we can allow you to get really granular into the device itself. We can just offline some of these offline, hide these particulars. There we go. So I can get things where I want to actually get full assist, where I can do a smart remote control, smart controls, shadowing of these particular machines, all the way to the point where I'm managing them, but also, again, delivering applications in real time to these particular environments or these particular desktops that are in play. All right, so we provide all that in that single price scenario. It's all about consumption. We're not billing you separately for the operational or the persistence or non-persistence or how you really want to deliver it. We're billing you based on your consumption, how you want to leverage the system to do the work that you need to do. And in a lot of situations, again, we think about graphics and rendering and things like that, we've had it increase the productivity inside of companies and reduce the workflow of some of the application sets that are in play because they're being able to access higher end compute and resources on an on-demand basis right off the bat. So again, I kind of went random, tandem. We have a lot to show, a lot to play with. But overall, we want you to understand that it's all about the new hybrid strategy of getting on the new platform that Cloud Comrade is really delivering on. And this platform is allowing you to really deliver on a hybrid strategy, deliver it in a way that you can grow and with the expansions that you need the ability to do. With that, I'm going to turn this over to Andy. Any other questions or things, definitely hit me up in the chat while we're talking.
Thank you, Jaymes, and thank you, Mick. This is Andy from Cloud Comrade. Let me share my screen. Let's see how this works. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thanks, Jaymes, for confirming. Yep. So we have talked a lot about Tehama, and in passing, Mick and Jaymes have also mentioned about Cloud Comrade. Why Cloud Comrade? Well, we are the first partner of Tehama here in Southeast Asia and in Asia Pacific. And I think one of the reasons why we wanted to partner with Tehama as the first one here in this part of the world was that when Jaymes was doing the demo to us, that he was doing to you as well. And I thought the technology was so impressive that this would be a very, very nice addition to our portfolio of services, what we do as a company. So those of you who don't know Cloud Comrade was set up 8 years ago here in Singapore. We started off as an AWS partner in 2014, 2015. We added to the portfolio Alibaba Cloud, 2016, Google Cloud, 2017, Microsoft Azure, 2018, Oracle Cloud, 2019, VMware on AWS, 2020. We partner up with Huawei Cloud, and this year we have also partnered up with Tencent Cloud. The company has been growing steadily, both in terms of the person power. So we have about 100 people across Southeast Asia region and also some employees in India. And then also geographically, we have been expanding outside of Singapore. So we have customers now across the board, not just in countries where we have offices, which is Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and India, but also in places like Philippines, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Thailand, Brunei. We have been working with customers in Qatar, Maldives. We have one of our largest implementations, migrations currently happening out of Germany. We have had customers in Spain, United States, and also in other places. So we are, in that sense, a regional player. And I think that goes back to what Mick was talking about, the fact that how COVID accelerated transformation. Previously, all of our employees, I'm sure this is true for everyone on the call, working mostly on site in the offices from 9 to 6. And on COVID time, all of us had to work from home, and we needed new ways of doing that. And that's where solutions like Tehama's virtualization comes into play. And for us, it was a very, very easy transition to start working remotely. That also led to the fact that it wasn't just about doing business in the countries where we had offices anymore, but it was doing business pretty much globally, anywhere in the world. And we have the benefit of being a cloud MSP, managed service provider, that we are working 24/7. So we are covering all the time zones all the time, 365. A little bit about the partnerships. So with AWS, Google, and Microsoft, we are on the highest level of partnerships, and there aren't that many companies in Southeast Asia that have achieved that level of specialization. So for instance, with AWS, we have financial services competence, and again, Tehama solution is an excellent example what financial services companies are looking for their modern connectivity requirements point of view. We have the AWS migration competency, we have an SAP competency, we have the well-architected framework partner program designation from AWS. We have more than 30 expertises from Google Cloud and a couple of specializations both on the cloud migration side as well as on the infrastructure side. And also with Microsoft, we have some specializations, advanced specializations. The whole company is ISO 27001 certified, and we are also have a number of different designations from the Singapore government, how we actually conduct our business from a security point of view and from a personal privacy point of view. We have had more than 600 customers in the 8 years. Granted, some of them might have been relatively small, but there are also some very, very large companies, multinational companies. Some of them might be familiar to you. We have worked in just about any industry, all the way from logistics, oil and gas, automotive, retail, to public sector organizations, ministries, statutory boards, non-profit organizations, and educational institutions, healthcare institutions, and so on and so forth. For us, it is relatively irrelevant which sector our customers come from. We have been covering that end to end, but there are certain industries where infrastructure is slightly or it needs a bit more compliance, like for instance in financial services. When it comes to banks and insurance companies and funds management companies, we have to follow what MAS thinks about the outsourcing guidelines. So that's where we have been building expertise. Healthcare is another area where patient records and employee records have to be handled in a certain way. And then, of course, Singapore government with their initiative for infrastructure migrations and managed services have come up with their own guidelines. So that's where also certain special expertise is needed. But if you're looking at otherwise a retail company or an automotive company, from the infrastructure requirement, everyone wants the same. They want to have a safe environment. They want a secure environment. They do not want to be paying for unnecessary costs. And they want to have the right kind of a latency and scalability in their infrastructure. And that's true for every single company, every single organization, regardless of the size or the industry that they might be in. Besides of the cloud platform providers, we have also been partnering up with the best of breed solutions for certain applications. And we have been very, very selective which companies we are partnering up with. So for instance, in the security space, we have been working with companies like Lacework, CrowdStrike, CyberArk, Trend Micro, Deep Security. In the infrastructure automation side, we have been working with companies like HashiCorp. And today's webinar is really about Tehama and how we saw the opportunity to expand our solution offering for our customer base in Southeast Asia and beyond, working together with Tehama. And I think the reasons are quite obvious. So when you saw the technical demonstration by Jaymes, I think it's probably the leading technology solution when it comes to provisioning virtual desktops and working remotely and having the control of the end users at the end of the day. I think that's what most of our customers are looking forward to. There are a number of other solutions out there, but the way that Tehama can be controlled and made it granular for each of the companies and their compliance and regulatory policies, I think that was the interesting part for us, why we thought that Tehama is the right partner for us moving forward. A little bit about cloud government services. We typically help our customers to discover what type of applications they might be wanting to transform and what they might be wanting to take onto a cloud platform. Then we provide them with a planning process to design and building based on the design itself. Then we help our customers to deploy. And what we really want to do for our customers is to manage that infrastructure for them. So whether it might be being servers or it might be being virtual desktops, for example, with Tehama, that's something that we do on a 24/7 basis. Cloud Comrade was invested in by SD Telemedia and thus Temasek about 3.5 years ago, and the acquisition was completed a couple of months ago. So we are 100% Temasek company in the same family of other companies like Second Watch, Armor, Quantum, and others. And now we are coming together as one single entity Q1 onwards. So if Cloud Comrade has about 100 employees, with this coming together, under the STT Clouds umbrella, we will be having about 1,000 consultants worldwide, roughly about a few hundred in Southeast Asia, about 300 in India, and about 600 in the United States. There will be a new brand name coming up at some point of time, and you will be seeing big changes coming from our side in terms of the capability expansion and also the geographical expansion moving forward. If you deep dive a little bit into our services, talking about strategy design, deployment, managing, and security, so we are able to help our customers to strategize and figure a way from a timeline perspective, from a cost perspective, what would be the most feasible way of doing migrations. Some of our customers know exactly what they want to be doing, and they're just asking us to design and execute. Other customers are coming to us and saying that, well, our management is telling us to move everything from our data center to a cloud platform in the next, let's say, 12 months. Cloud Comrade, can you please come and tell us how should we do that? And it's not just about the migration itself, but understanding, for instance, software licensing changes, people changes, security changes, compliance changes, and all of that. And that's what we have been doing for many of our customers. Now, when it comes to the design phase, then there's some kind of a to-be architecture, and that obviously always goes hand in hand with the cost calculations as well. How much would this change actually cost? Not just, again, the migration, but the end state. How much would that infrastructure be costing us? What costs relief do we get of not having to host those applications on premise anymore? And what other benefits we would be getting from there? Again, from a security compliance perspective, but also the ability to scale up and down with ease. Then we deploy, and typically we like to keep our deployment phases within weeks, maximum 3 months. And if it goes beyond 3 months, then we might have a couple of phases in the migrations, but we feel that our customers should be getting the value as quickly as possible. And then once the migrations have been completed, we are very happy to manage it both from the infrastructure side as well as from a security perspective. And we can also provide the cloud subscription for all of the major cloud platform providers. We do that. We provide consulting and managed services for our customers, but it does not mean that we have to engage us for all of those three. You can choose one of them, you can choose two of them, you can choose all three of them, depending on the requirements that you may have in your business. Besides of the hardcore cloud hosting, managed services, and security, we also provide modern workplace solutions, and that's where we have been stitching together through our partner solutions the best solutions that we believe our customers can take advantage of. So in the collaboration side might be Microsoft M365 or Office 365 or Google Workspace, and Tehama, what has been the topic of today's presentations. Identity and access management, we see a lot of traction for Okta. When we talk about data loss protection, Dropsuite and Acronis are two of our partners. Secured file sharing, Axelium and Kiteworks, and end user security, we have been doing a lot of Trend Micro implementations as well. And then finally, I think the reasons, and we spoke about them at length today, but I just wanted to summarize from our point of view, is why Cloud Comrade is excited about the Tehama partnership is we see that Tehama is providing a seamless remote working enablement for all of our customers, regardless again of the industry. Works especially well in the financial services side, but does not need to be a financial services company, can be a company in any kind of industry. We see that these implementations, like Mick mentioned, are out of the box implementations, so there's much less consulting needed, if any. And again, this solution is built in a way that you can have your users distributed globally. It doesn't matter where your employees are. This solution is applicable for all of them. Security and cost optimization, big topics in 2022. Obviously, all of IT solutions need to be secure. But again, also looking at the economy at the moment, so most of our customers are very concerned about cost optimization, and that is something that Tehama is taking care right from the get-go. So you don't have to go and do period cost optimization exercises. It's actually built into the solution. And you can start with a handful of users, but you can scale this to tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of users on the platform. So whether the company is big or small, doesn't really matter. The service is the same, the experience is the same, and you will benefit from this Tehama value proposition. So I think that's pretty much it from my side as well. I would like to thank everyone who has been attending this webinar. If you have any questions, our head office is here in Singapore. We have an office in Indonesia. We have an office in Malaysia as well. You can send us questions. You can ask us on the chat, and we are very happy to get back to you on a one-to-one conversations, whether physically or via a Zoom call. Doesn't matter. It's up to your convenience, and we look forward to following up with you on all of your questions and asks. Thank you very much from my side. Kalista, anything else that you need to say?
Nothing from my side. So if you guys have any questions, probably you guys can ask right now. Anyone have any questions? Okay, I think not for now. So after the event, I will send an email to all of you guys with the recording of the webinars. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to link us up through the email as well. Anything else from Mick and Jaymes?
Nothing else from me. I look forward to working with anyone who's on the call and future customers and users. But I just want to reemphasize Andy's point that we're all about enabling your business. So please reach out and let us know what you need from us.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much for your time. I think now we can end the webinar.
Thank you.